All right, welcome to the Building Web3 podcast. Today we have the co-founder of MegaETH on. Some call her Brother Bing, but she'll pronounce her actual names. Give us an introduction to yourself and how you got into this Web3 world.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jax. I know we're both sick, so kudos that we're doing this.
Yeah, we're coughing as much as possible for the listener ASMR experience.
Exactly. So I properly got into crypto in 2017 during the ICO era. My first job in crypto was actually at Consensus. I was part of the founding team in the Consensus Dubai office. I ended up staying there for 6 years. By the time I left, I was leading our global business development for our entire product suite. So products that everyone is used to, MetaMask, Infura, Linea as well. I actually also sunset a few developer products, Quorum and Truffle. So I've seen a lot of ups and downs in crypto. And then earlier this year, I decided to leave Consensus and join MegaETH as a co-founder. My forte into crypto was there were a few milestones, but I think the one that I think particularly shaped my view about the world was right after college. I didn't stay in the States. I actually went to Africa. I spent 2 years living in Nigeria and traveled quite a lot in sub-Saharan Africa. And a big lesson learned or observation of how the world worked was that I believe that poverty is deeply man-made. I think the more you see the world, you realize that there are fertile lands, diligent people, amazing natural resources, but people are still poor and the environment are being damaged. And I think a lot of it comes from people, come from abusement of power. So crypto became this very neutral, objective, permissionless alternative rail. And I believe that for society to continue to evolve, crypto has to exist. Like I cannot see a world where crypto does not exist. So I think that shaped me, my own personal career decision to be building in crypto for the last 7 years.
Yeah, I have to say that's an observation I made as well in terms of like, well, a slightly different observation is that most people that are into crypto have lived abroad or have like traveled around a lot because they see actually like, hey, cross-border payments are really hard, or like sending money to people across borders super, super hard. Well, so tell us a little bit. So you do your travels, and then maybe I'm getting the timeline wrong because didn't you pay your tuition in ETH at some point? So tell people the story there. I know this is a bit of an aside, but it's like one of the coolest bios I've ever seen on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it was during my time at Consensus. It was, everyone has a bit of a bloody mid-curve lesson learned incident. I was actually working at Consensus in the Middle East and Africa office. I wanted to go back to the States because I mean, even until today, I believe a lot of the technology innovation happens in the U.S. And even most of the MegaETH team member are in the U.S. And I wanted to go back to the US, and obviously, as a foreigner, you can't go back to the US. The only way to go back to the US is via education. So I was like, okay, I'm quite useless. I can't code, and I'm not an artist. So the only thing I can do is business degree. So I applied for Harvard and Stanford. I really wanted to go to Stanford. I didn't get in. So I only got into Harvard. So I went to Harvard, right? And for me to go to Harvard, I have to pay tuition because it's quite an expensive school. So then I had to sell my ETH. And yeah, I wipe my tears sometimes at night.
I might have maybe a worse story. I was buying Bitcoin in like 2012, and people, if they trace the timeline on like what people are doing in 2012 with Bitcoin, you probably say you were, either buying fake IDs or drugs. And I would like to say, for the record, I was doing neither. If any FBI people are watching, but yes, everyone that got into crypto early, like they were just wantonly spending money. So let's talk a little bit about MegaETH and what you guys are hoping to accomplish there, because I'm sure many people have heard about the project, but let's imagine someone's like, whoa, what the heck is MegaETH?
Yeah, so MegaETH is actually going to build the end game of a scalable EVM blockchain. I am wearing a T-shirt, a hoodie that says the word computer And the reason why I'm mentioning this is, back in 2017, when I first got into crypto, I was really attracted to Ethereum's vision of building a world computer. I remember I was talking to myself, this whole idea of, personal computer empowers you, but then a world computer empowers everyone because it solves the human coordination issue. So if there's a world computer, then doesn't it mean like everyone can be Steve Jobs? Like I really do, I deeply believe that, which is why like even with MegaETH right now, our goal is to build the world computer, right, for the future. And the world computer is a very powerful single state machine, and that's exactly what MegaETH is about. I can go a bit deeper into what MegaETH is, and a lot of people will just roll their eyes and be like, okay, just another powerful EVM chain, like so what? But the difference between MegaETH and all the other EVM chain is MegaETH is taking extreme trade-off, right? That's what we always say. This is the end game of a scalable Ethereum block EVM blockchain. You cannot be faster than MegaETH, and the reason is that we are taking the extreme approach in producing block, which is a centralized rotational sequencer, but then we don't sacrifice too much of decentralization either because we're using Ethereum as a security layer. So it is really the perfect blockchain that is prioritizing on throughput, on low latency, on performance, while being open and permissionless.
Yeah, and let's maybe contrast that with something like Solana because I believe their initial vision, and now you have things like network extensions, and they're kind of having some things peel off a little bit from Solana, but I believe their initial idea was a single state machine. Talk to us a little bit about how you kind of see the difference there, obviously in Ethereum land.
Yeah, so it's funny because I often say, not even me, like when I first met one of my my investor, I was just curious, right? He is a very well known investor. He's also a founder. I met him. I said, "What's your thesis to invest in MegaETH?" He's like, "Oh, you guys are the real Solana," and I didn't understand because a lot of people think we're EVM chain, so and we're not even SVM, right? And the idea is quite simple. So us and Solana actually both adhere to the philosophy of vertical scaling. So what we're trying to do is maximize the power we can leverage from a machine. So to us, we rewrote the entire state tree of our sequencer. So you can like scale up the sequencer and really use the power of that sequencer. And Solana is the same, right? That's why like Kyle Samani's biggest thesis was like Moore's law. So like Solana is always scalable. So this is how we are similar to Solana in the sense of a single powerful state machine using powerful machines. The difference though is we take even more extreme than Solana. So Solana is a layer one. When you become a layer one, you need to have consensus. Consensus is actually the bottleneck of performance because the node has to agree with each other on the state. Even though Solana actually has weak consensus because for Solana, it's a single leader node, right? That's the transaction and then propagate to the rest of the node. MegaETH takes to an extreme because MegaETH has no consensus. Like let that sink in. You have no consensus. Your block production is you're just churning out block, right? You're just streaming blocks. No one cares. And the consensus, the security, we are also outsourced to Ethereum. And this is the beauty of being, we call it a very heterogeneous network. So, Solana will have its network extension or whatsoever because as layer one, you can never be scalable. So anyone who says we're performance maxi, if you don't like MegaETH, I think you're being a fake performance maxi because a true performance maxi cannot deal with consensus and you outsource consensus to Ethereum mainnet.
All right, so we've now outsourced the consensus, and talk to us a little bit about some of the things that this kind of frees up. Now we have relatively, we'll call it, for lack of a better term, unlimited block space. Talk to us a little bit about like what kind of use cases this opens up when I assume things are just way cheaper and less expensive.
Yeah. I think there are multiple realities for people who observe like we have a lot of block space and what to do with it. I think if you ask a lot of builder would tell you that there's not enough block space. So one of the team that's building on MegaETH, they're called Biomes. They're building a fully on-chain Minecraft. So right now they're using one of the OP stack, and it is extreme. And people would always say it's like, oh wow, there are so many layer twos. Why do we need another layer two? The problem is existing EVM chains are not powerful enough. So Biomes right now can only handle 50 people play at the same time. It's crippling. And similarly, some of the other applications. So, for example, we have someone who's building a portal network. It allows you to use internet no matter where you are, and it needs extremely fast transaction on the blockchains. And again, that's only possible on MegaETH. So, I think this idea of outsiders observe oh, there's so many blockchains, but it doesn't mean there's good quality block space. So these are very different things. So now from MegaETH's perspective, our goal is to work with builders who can be liberated by good quality block space. What is the definition of good quality block space? It's not just throughput. It's also low latency. What does latency mean? Latency means when I click, this transaction needs to go to the blockchain to the time it registered on the blockchain. That's latency. So right now, Solana latency is 400 millisecond. Arbitrum is 265 millisecond. On MegaETH, on our private testnet, we have reached 10 millisecond. It's vast order of difference, and we're trending toward 1 millisecond. So we are thinking about block space, right? Think about two things. First of all, is our developers, do we really believe there are enough block space? Second one is, are there quality block space? So all the applications can live on a single state machine, living on the same world computer without a noisy neighbor issue, right? And then, I don't know, you might be asking me another question oh, why don't we just have app chains? It's also very powerful. And I think that's actually very much go against the philosophy of blockchain. I think the philosophy of blockchain is discovering new marketplace, right? It's creating surface for things that you did not know before that had synergy, but now it does because it lives together. And when you have app chain and you don't have atomic swap, you're literally living in your single island. And that's same as Web2. You're just living on your same server. So the idea of having single state machine is for people to leverage social graph, is to build a credit score, is for you to do one thing in one application and all of a sudden you can leverage another lending protocol or another deck somewhere else. So yeah, TLDR, quality block space. We believe in single state machine. We want all apps to thrive on MegaETH all together.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So if people are interested in the noisy neighbor problem, they can go back to probably the Eclipse episode. I believe Terry talks about it quite extensively. And then talking about the app chain stuff, you can go back to Luis's episode for gelato/abundance. So talk to us a little bit, because I feel myself often pulled between these two separate, visions where it's okay, everything lives in one state, or everything's its own chain, like every single app, its own chain this, chain that. So why do you necessarily think that it's a single state machine?
I mean, a very good example, Biomes, the fully on-chain Minecraft. So it's very dumb if it's just an app on its own. What are you gonna do there? Build something? I mean, why don't you just have a Web2 Minecraft? The beautiful thing about a crypto native Minecraft is that you're building a new world. You are pumping a world with lots of economic activity, aka GDP. For you to pump that world to exist, what do you need? You need basic DeFi primitives. You need a lending protocol. You need a DEX. You need perp, right? Why can't I just trade wood in Biome? And I can 10x leverage long wood because I know Jax is going to build a big house. He's going to buy wood. But before that, I was hoarding wood, and then I'm going to sell that to him, right? So the moment you start to thinking about building a prosperous on-chain world economy, you cannot have app being alone on itself. Because again, the beautiful thing of crypto is you're building a world economy. And for world economy to create that surface, a new marketplace to exist, you need different primitive to exist together. So I personally, maybe there are some theses with app chain. I mean, even Hyperliquid, right? Hyperliquid was an app chain, and now it's a general purpose chain. So I think app chain is a way for apps to justify a token, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But an app chain on its own, I think you're limiting your potential.
Yeah, and then you also get the argument as well that essentially having all these app chains is very, relatively parasitic. So you essentially have to spin up all of that infrastructure, as you mentioned, and then you're also pulling liquidity away from different areas that could be well cycled through the ecosystem. Yeah, it's quite interesting to me. One of the really interesting, aside from the technical aspects that you guys have been able to accomplish, which is groundbreaking. Talk to us a little bit about like the community building aspect, because an ecosystem at the end of the day is really nothing if you can't get people to like build on it or come enjoy it.
Yeah, so it's really the developer community and the retail user community, I would like to say. Developer community, I think both we've been very deliberate, and I would say almost a little bit too opinionated. So from a developer perspective, after spending 6 years at Consensus, what I realized was it's beautiful to be permissionless and open. It really is. But to kickstart a new ecosystem, you want to present the best to your end users. Right? I didn't want to have a scenario where everyone come in and it becomes extremely noisy and we cannot differentiate a good product from the bad. But more importantly, I didn't want to have an initial ecosystem where like applications that actually don't need MegaETH to be launching on MegaETH. And this is small anecdote, by the way. There are a lot of people who want to build on MegaETH, and I actually told them not to. The reason is they're building a Uni fork, and they don't need a fast blockchain for Uni V3 fork, honestly. And I would tell them like, why don't you go to another blockchain and you can get a grant? And I would actually go to because I know basically all the blockchain ecosystem leader right now, and I would actually refer them to another blockchain because I don't think projects that don't need MegaETH needs to be launched on MegaETH. Honestly, it's not good for you. It's not good for me either. So our day one developer onboarding strategy has been working with builders who are building things that's only possible on MegaETH. So the fully on-chain Minecraft is an example. The Portal Network is an example. Even with our DeFi applications. So our flagship DEX is a combination of AMM and Club. So Club for major assets and AMM for long tail assets. And you can have co-located Oracle with our sequencer to get like max speed max speed basically. So that's on developer working with builders who are building something that actually needs a fast chain, because I don't want to launch a chain where people say, hey, why don't you just use the OP stack, right? It's not why we're doing this. With the community part, we've been quite deliberate as well. If you go on MegaETH Discord, it's very wholesome. It's very quiet. People don't like spam each other with GM. It's always some sort of educational content because we run this quiz thing. So with community, I have two principles. First one is educate. I want people to come to MegaETH and actually learn something away, which is why we did the quiz. And then, and now we're doing study groups in the MegaETH community. And by the way, you're not going to get any roles or special. There's no airdrop. It's basic. People need to learn. Like, I was shocked that people don't know how Bitcoin works. I was like, if you don't know how Bitcoin works, it's like, bro, you don't deserve to make money. Like, I'm sorry. And then the second part is to entertain, right? Playing games together, making art together. So these have been our two principles. And then I think the third one that we recently doubled down was to give community skin in the game, which is why we did the Echo sale. And the Echo sale was, it literally broke Echo. It broke Echo the platform. It broke Base the chain because too many people were trying to send money. It's quite interesting. And to us, the idea was People always say like, "Oh, give back to community," and we were like, "You guys are all LARPing." The real way to give back to community is to give them skin in the game, which is equal amount of money at the lowest valuation possible. So, yeah, we welcome more than 3,000 investors to our community, and our Echo. I think we put in $4 million in the first round, sold out in 56 seconds. And then we went on a call together. It was like an emergency. Kobe was like, "Oh, guys, how many more money do you want to add?" We're like, "Okay, let's just make it 10 mil." Yeah, we sold out 10 mil. The second one sold out in a little over a minute.
Wow, it's really incredible. One, I'd say like for people that are unfamiliar, so we go to the Discord. Let's say they've never been there before, and we're now presented with a bunch of Bing. You're giving us homework. What's going on here? We're all learning about Bitcoin in the Discord. Talk to us a little bit about the quiz infrastructure.
Yeah, we were. So the quiz basically, it's also very competitive. I mean, even Vitalik took the quiz and he didn't pass. So the quiz was supposed to challenge you a bunch of knowledge area: Bitcoin, EVM chains, Solana, cultural stuff like crypto lores, major activities, etc. So, and then the idea was we identify a bunch of problems that people didn't answer correctly, and you go on Discord, and there will be like a little study group. You enter, and there will be like daily explanation, people helping each other and answering questions. We sometimes have like a guest coming in and chat about it. So yeah, the idea is try to make it as educational as possible, as fun as possible. And there are some anecdotes which I thought was quite heartwarming. There's someone called RYU in our community, Ryu. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he was quite a Bitcoin fan, and then he created a 20 pages document on just like basic of Bitcoin, even with the ordinals of like Lightning Network and all of that. Yeah, very powerful. Like people like just end up helping each other.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Okay, so then you guys do the community sale, and it sells out pretty much immediately. And then you're like, well, let's do like a little bit more, give back more to the community. It sells out immediately. How much did you guys end up raising?
So we raised 10 million in total. The first one was four, and then we put another six.
Very exciting, very exciting. Now, one thing I want to double back to, because you talked about, when people are looking to build on Megi, sometimes you're like, hey guys, like this probably isn't the best solution for you. Maybe go to Arbitrum, maybe go to some other ecosystem. Talk to us a little bit about like what are the verticals that are really good? Is it gaming? Is it like Deepin? I remember talking to Pith and they're like, yeah, we ended up having to fork Solana because we were filling up so much block space. Like who's great for Megi?
That's so funny. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, so piss forks a lot. Yeah. So the one applications that are actually needs a powerful block and needs quality block. So powerful block, I think fully on-chain games are a great vertical because literally everything needs to be on-chain. And then the second one in terms of quality block is actually consumer use cases. So for a lot of use cases, even though you don't need the high throughput, right? You're not constantly putting things on chain, but with consumer application, latency really matters. You don't want to click a transaction when you are. So we have a game called Pump Dot Party. They are a combination of Mr. Beast and HQ Trivia. So every day 7 p.m. you log on your app, you play some sort of game. With consumer application like that, latency really matters. You don't want to play a game, throw your phone in the air and the block doesn't move, right? So this requires latency. So these are the application we're really looking for.
So mostly gaming, Deepin not so much.
Oh, DeepIn very much. The Portal network is a DeepIn use case. Yeah. So
Got it.
I
Got it.
think DeepIn really matters to us is DeepIn is you're bootstrapping a new network, right? By nodes. And especially when you have consumer applications on these DeepIn use cases, you need latency. Okay, latency is MegaETH's biggest advantage. And latency is only so we're the only one that gets this type of latency is because we don't have consensus. We are a centralized rotational sequencer.
And then you guys have, built this product. Talk to us a little bit about like some of the challenges you guys face and how you resolve them. Was it clearly it wasn't raising the funds? Was it, marketing? Was it, the technical challenges itself? Because it doesn't seem like anyone's done these like technical feats yet. So talk to us a little bit about the challenges and what you guys did to overcome them.
Yeah, the biggest challenge was community.
Ah,
The technical part was less of concern because I think my co-founders are genius. Not even joking. I've met a lot of smart people in my life, but these two are special. And developer adoption is my bread and butter. So it was, and we're very principled. We're very opinionated. Community was a difficult part because everyone would tell me the same playbook. People would tell me like, just be like Monad, give roles, give airdrops. Other people would be like, study this protocol, go to KOLs, right? The KOLs will get your community. And I just didn't think those were right. I didn't want the people who don't believe in us. So for the longest time, our community, our Discord was so quiet. I used to joke on panels. I said, I don't think I have a community. My community was my investors and my builders. And like people kind of know that I'm a long term, like I'm not like a grifter. But yeah, the hardest part was building this community because we have no incentive. And I don't blame the community. Like, I have no incentive. Why would they even come to you, right? They shouldn't. So that has been extremely difficult. And then, I mean, luckily, over the months, we get MegaMafia projects on, so people see more of what MegaETH is about. So we're getting more people who are technically sound. So our earliest community member was always the technical nerds. And it's funny, most of them heard of us from Monad. They're like, oh, you guys were talking to Monad. And they looked at our tech. They're like, oh, it's very legitimate. So they all come to MegaETH. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so now over the time, we have a bit of our own community. But, I'll be honest with you, Jax. I don't know if your other interviewees would say the same, but I think finding loyal community is very hard because before you launch a network, before you TGE, you're the darling child of everyone. And once you do all of that, who are still there with you, right? That's really the beginning of your job. I'm hoping that, right now I may not have a bigger community, but I treat everyone the same. I literally give you equity of my company and the protocol. You get better term than most of my investors. And my ecosystem has amazing builders, all 0 to 1 applications, so people can actually use the app. So yeah, I don't know, but this is what I struggle. Even till today, I struggle. Like, who is gonna be there with me long term?
yeah, I might be the only person in Web3 that's like community bearish, where I think a lot of like projects where you're like, oh, we have a great community. And you're like, yeah, but you haven't built anything. It's like you don't use a community to cover up for like a lack of like technical proficiency. Or I remember trying out this one SaaS product, and now I actually love the product, so I won't dish the one there. But I tried it out. I was like, this onboarding is horrible, and they're like, yeah, but we have a great community. I'm like, yeah, but the onboarding is horrible. So I don't know. Sometimes I think like in crypto we're like so quick to give out like coins to people. And it's like I've never even thought about an Apple coin. I just like their products. So I feel like we just have to focus on like better products. But to that extent, it seems like you've almost followed more of like I would almost call it like super teams community perspective where you're like, hey, I want to know like a smaller group of people that are like real core believers in what we're doing versus like the hey, how many people can we stack into a Discord? Correct me if I'm wrong there.
Absolutely. And that the reason is after 7 years, I've seen the same people just rotate to different protocols depending who is hyped. So yeah, I think our toughest job has yet to start.
Yeah, yeah, because I guess post TGE, then you really see. I mean, you see it so much where it's like, hey, like this is the best project ever, and then it's like they TGE and then nothing. So talk to us a little bit about the Mega Mafia initiative because I'm quite curious about that and what it entails.
Yeah. So these are builders who are building 0 to 1 application that actually uses our high performance blockchain. And the way we are shaping the MegaMafia is, you could say it's super team-ish, or I think we, as a company, we like to take things on the extreme side, just as our technical design. So with Mega Mafia, unlike Super Team, right? They do 1 week hackathon all over the world. With the Mega Mafia, we take people to a city and we live together for a month. So last year in May, we took over Berlin, rented a hotel, rented a WeWork space, lock everybody in, and be like, "What the hell can we build on 100,000 TPS, 10-millisecond blockchain? Right? What exactly is there?" And when you have smart people in the same room with one goal and you lock them for a month, what comes out is fucking beautiful. And then the second one was in Chiang Mai, where I did Mega Zoo. It was 50 builders, lock in, right? Like, what can you build? So I think Mega Mafia is an example of like the best talents we can find and give them a tremendous amount of challenge, but also a lot of promise, right? Because I think the Mega Mafia, they're not here to, like, I often say this, I don't think I'm selling them a blockchain. I think I'm selling them a dream. I'm telling them like, what are they gonna do in the next 5 years of their life? Build with me, right? Like, I don't take their trust lightly either. So it's like they're building this thing that's pushing the boundary. I'm providing the best tech solution, go to market, but it's very symbiotic, and I think that's the only way to build an ecosystem. Like, that's why I don't worry about them going to another ecosystem, because this is way of co-building together is this camaraderie is quite deep.
Yeah, well, talk to us a little bit about like this building of like a developer community. Because every time I try to lock my employees in a room for a month, they get really upset and not as happy. Maybe I'm not giving out enough water. Talk to us a little bit about like how you guys are, doing this. It seems really fun experience. So everyone comes to one place. You're like, hey, we're all going to go to Berlin. We're all going to hack. Do you have a specific like vertical idea, or like everyone's working on their own project? How does it work?
Yeah, so basically, like, you're informed. It's gonna be in Berlin. Move your ass. And everyone has something they're initially interested in, and we work things through during the 1 month. Every Friday, we have a demo day where people just criticize the hell out of each other. And by the way, these people are harsh, very harsh to each other. And then some people pivot. Some people actually decide it's not their cup of tea, so they left. The Mega Mafia also has churn. We sometimes just tell people they're not a good fit. They will leave, or sometimes they will leave themselves. It was very competitive, but you know what? I like people who are competitive, and we are like, one thing I try to live by is to be brutally honest. I think being brutally honest is good for me, but also good for the other person. You don't want them to waste time with you either.
Yeah, I'm actually reading this book last night, and the guy talks about a story that made him pivot full to just focusing on magazine, not his R&B career, because John Lennon gave him some very like, it's like harsh feedback in the moment, but it's the right feedback in order to be like, hey, like you should probably focus on the magazine. So talk to us a little bit, because I know you've been very generous about your time. We're always looking for startup ideas because we have a lot of builders in this space. What do you think is an area? It could be of the MegaETH ecosystem. It could just be of crypto in general, where you're like, you know what? I feel like somebody hasn't done this, or hey, I feel like people are overlooking this particular sector.
Ooh, I think we've given out most ideas to the Mega Mafia now. So
Hey, fair enough. I can tell you Bo's one, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Bo gave us a dating app idea where he's like, it essentially balances the market, because most women don't want to join dating apps. So you essentially use tokenomics in order to bring women into the actual dating market. It's quite
okay,
interesting.
that sounds very big brain. Okay, I think crypto can do with better wallet. I know
Better
I've
wallet.
yeah I know but it's also it's extremely competitive. But the one who wins the pie is going to win very big. So any audience who is listeners who has experience with consumer product, I really encourage you to try wallet. And if you're interested in that, come talk to me.
Yeah, well, I got to say, I'm actually pretty happy with the Coinbase Smart Wallet. I do need to talk to my friends at Infinex because I had my assistant sign up for it, and they're like, "Hey, before you sign up, you need to put in a Sol wallet and an ETH address." I'm like, "Well, he doesn't have either of those. He's new to crypto." I'm like, "Oh well," so I had to have him go sign up for a Coinbase wallet and then go sign up for Infinex. So I got to tell those guys about that. But finally, where can people learn more about you, what you're up to in MegaETH land?
Yeah, people can follow my Twitter, which is hotpot_DAO. You can also follow MegaETH Twitter account. It's MegaETH_labs. You know what? I don't even remember our own Twitter
You
handle.
know what? We'll look it up. We're gonna put it in the description. So you guys just go to the description, click on it. Well, real quick, I have one thing: is I historically have not liked hot pot because I feel like it's silly to go to a restaurant and have to cook your own food. Give me the bull case for hot pot.
So, and this is the reason why I started Hotpot DAO. Hotpot is the thing where you can literally cook anything. It's extremely inclusive. And the beauty is you don't lose the original flavor of the food, but you add a bit of the broth. So I consider Hotpot the most diverse. Like it's the pot that you get the most flavor in one. But yeah,
Yeah, for
I
me, it's
get
just like
your
it's going to a restaurant and then be like, "Hey, yeah, we got bread in the back, and go cook yourself a sandwich." I'm like, "What? This is crazy." But no, I'll probably get used to it. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I'll put all the links in the description. Until the next time, let's continue building the future of on chain.